Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of the Thirsty Beagle podcast. I'm Nick Trigalkos, author of the Thirsty Beagle blog on News OK. I'm joined in studio today by my first repeat guest on the podcast, Greg Powell, General Manager of Tapworks, and also on the phone from Jenks America, Freddie Lamport, owner-operator of the Beer Garden, one of the premier beer spots in the state. Welcome aboard, guys.
What's going on?
What's happening?
Glad to be back.
Yes, sir. We're gonna dive right in today, and we've got a few different topics to cover. First is something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is the 5th annual Beer Championship Series. It's going on right now on the Thirsty Beagle blog. What the deal is for people who don't know is a couple of years ago I was so disenchanted by the football BCS that I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start my own BCS, but I'm going to call it the Beer Championship Series, and it's going to be a straight-up 64 beer bracket, just like March Madness, where we're going to pick Oklahoma's favorite beer. We're now in our 5th year, and the competition is getting a lot of votes. It's really a fun thing that everyone, beer fans in the state, get into. One thing I did to switch it up this year was I brought in Greg, I brought in Freddie, and a couple other beer experts in the state to form the official beer selection committee. These guys helped pick the beers, then also, help me kind of sort them on the bracket where they would go. Greg, when I asked you to help pick the beers, what did you kind of look at when you said these are ones that we should consider for the bracket?
The first thing that we tried to focus on was Oklahoma beers, of course. But it's hard to fill out, at this point, a 64-team bracket or beer bracket with just Oklahoma. So after that, I was thinking, okay, what are beers that I know that we have year-round, pretty much year-round, and that people like to drink and that people drink a lot of and they really enjoy. So, just basically picking those best sellers, those favorites, the one that get people talking. And, Freddie would probably say the same thing. You kind of, in your brain which ones are the ones that are go-to beers no matter what. So,
and Freddie,
yeah.
when you were putting your list together, what were some of the things you looked at?
Well, just kind of like what Greg said about having a lot of local stuff. You always want to have a good local selection, especially since that BCS is, it's the heart of Oklahoma. You guys are in the city, and you're running it on the Thirsty Beagle and our Oklahoma magazine type deal. And so I kind of wanted to focus on that first, and then I kind of wanted to do, stuff that is a really good seller, but also focus on stuff that's a little upper echelon craft, like some of the, just kind of special releases, stuff that is around year-round, but some stuff that maybe just comes and goes through the seasons. There's a hot release, or there's X amount of cases that come into the state, or a keg-only release, or Firkin-type stuff that, there's just not really a lot. And I wanted to kind of pinpoint on that because it helps the people that are really interested in craft beer kind of be interested in the entire thing that you're trying to do, the BCS selection.
Sure, and Greg and I were talking right before we came on air just about the pulling you guys in to help pick the beers. Obviously, has set up a very elite list of beers because once we kind of got past that first round and some of the maybe the less extreme or, like you said, artisan type craft beers were voted out. Now it gets to a point where pretty much we're putting beers into the Sweet 16 right now, and every matchup is a matchup of two really good beers. I don't know how the voters are really deciding, because it's a lot of tough stuff, trying to pick between two beers that maybe have a little bit different style, but you would say, man, these are both really good.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, that's probably what I would like to see best for the bracket, is to see all the best beers come to the end. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Freddie?
Yeah, I would say so. I know that, being in Oklahoma, and like Greg said, we chose the kind of Oklahoma beers that, the Oklahoma boys are going to have the home field advantage as well. So I think that plays into a part when a lot of the folks are judging as well. But if you try to do it in a non-biased way, the beers still stack up very well against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I was voting this morning on the ones that were out today, and I'm looking at it, and I think was it Duvel versus Big Jamoke or something today? I don't know. I remember one of the matchups I was thinking, this is tough.
Yeah.
Because obviously I love the Big Jamoke, but Duvel's, classic, been around forever, and
Sure.
one of the best Belgian beers out there. So it gets to that point where you're just thinking, okay, do you, like Freddie said, do you kind of stick to your Oklahoma guns, or do you, so it's fun though. It gets you thinking. That's what's cool about it.
I think that's the key thing, is that it's a conversation starter for beer fans in the state. And we can transition to kind of here, Freddie. Speaking of beer fans in the state, I mean, if you want to go somewhere in the state and know that you can find a beer that you're looking for, I mean, the Beer Garden is a place that you want to go. Tell us a little bit about your store and what that's all about.
Well, I don't really believe that just selection makes your store a beer store. Anybody can buy a lot of beer and call themselves a beer store, and I would argue this with anybody. You can have a lot of money in your bank account and go in and stack pallets of every single beer that comes into that state, but does that make you a beer store? I don't really believe it does. I think that being a beer store is more than just the selection that you have. We do have a great selection, and we carry almost every single beer that comes in the state, and the reason that I say almost is because we really try to shy away from the beers that don't really fit the profile of the customers that come into our store. I really kind of shy away from the higher gravity beers like the 40-ounce type beers, the lower end beers that are $2-3 a six-pack. Any of the just the flavored beers like the Four Loko type beers. Those we don't really sell those, and we will never sell those because we need room for the quality type craft beers, these artisan beers that we really need. And I order them the day that they come in. I think the biggest part in my setting is having the beer the first day it's released for the customer, because part of selling craft beer is the aura that surrounds craft beer. It's the newness, the hotness. It's when it's out right then. You have to have it, and it's the whole vibe that surrounds craft beer, and that's why craft beer sells, is because it's this gigantic following, and you cannot have that if there's no hype that is surrounding it. And the way that you create hype is telling people about these beers and getting them interested in it and educating them, and then when that beer drops, they come and they buy it out, and it's like that's what they want. They want it that day, and they want it that time, and they want to know about it, and they want someone in the store that can offer them a higher level of service. So that incorporates into being a beer store as well. When I took the BJCP certification class, not just because I want to learn more about beer, but because you have to have someone that has some kind of knowledge behind the counter that can tell people exactly what they want to know about a beer. So I'm not just somebody that works open to close every day and can say, oh, yeah, well, I know a little bit about beer because I work every day. Well, no, I actually am certified to know about beer now because that's what I wanted to do. People can't take away your certifications. If you have no certification, they can say, oh, well, that guy, yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but now I have a piece of paper that does say I know what I'm talking about. So that is more of a beer store experience when you have someone that drinks beer, that brews beer, that knows from grain to glass, that has personal tastings, that has traveled and picks up beers and drinks beers from all over the world and in the nation and kind of knows things from outside. And just for instance, I had a customer walk in yesterday and he said, do you guys have any Kolsch? He didn't say anything like that. He goes, you guys have any Kolsch? He could have probably walked into some stores in Oklahoma and they would have been like, what the hell are you talking about? But
sure.
He walked into a store that's a beer store, and I knew exactly what he was talking about. I knew what style he was talking about, and I said, well, there's just not a whole lot of Kolsch beers that come into Oklahoma. Chalk Brew's one. There's Safnine beer the Spafnine is a Kolsch, and then there's some that come out there in the summer, and I think Point comes out with a Kolsch in the summer, but we just don't really get a lot of beer. So we kind of trying to drive him toward a style that's very similar, and he was happy with his choice and his selection. But it took me sitting there talking to him about that style of beer and about what he needed to know and stuff like that. That gave him a beer store experience, and there's just not a lot of stores in Oklahoma that are doing that right now.
Sure, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, and I know any beer fan out there has had this experience where you go to the store and you say, hey, I've heard that such and such beer is out now. Do you guys have this? And you get this, oh, I didn't even know that beer existed type reaction, and so it is good to have someone who takes that kind of care with the craft and is that passionate about it. What's the address for Beer Garden for people who are who might want to stop by if they're in the Jenks area?
Yeah, well, we're in Jenks, Oklahoma, and it's 807 East A Street, and it's Suite 107, and we're right across the 96th Street Bridge, right by the Riverwalk, in a strip center. They have a Louis bar and grill right next to it, so we're right there with the Louis, and we were the second place to open here, and it's been a great location for us. It's really open. It's very visible. It's easy access in and out. It's really nice. We have pretty decent parking. I have some reserved spots up front, and we keep all our beer in the back, away from the sun. We have some special stuff that we do keep up front, but I keep my windows nice and blocked, and I try to keep them away from the window. But with seasonals, they move so fast that they're really never exposed to UV for any period of time, and it moves real fast. Plus, it gives the customer something as soon as they walk in. They know you're serious about beer because it's basically the first thing they see, and then you have all of your newest stuff right up front. So you have all your new seasonals and your new special releases and everything right there. So they don't really need to go look through the store to get it. They can just grab it right there, and then they will, 9 times out of 10, they always go and check out the rest of it. So it's not like you're keeping them from going into the store. Some folks just really like to have what they're going for right up front, because a lot of the people are, the beer drinkers these days are getting a lot more educated, and so it really helps. You can never let the customer be more educated than you. That's the number one priority, because if someone comes in and knows something that you don't, then you've lost credibility, and credibility in this business is everything.
Hey, that sounds amen to that. Let me transition back over to Greg here for a sec. We've already talked about beer moving fast, and we know that some stout will be moving fast on Thursday night, November 8th. It's the International Stout Day celebration at Tapworks. Greg, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, let me drop this in real quick. For anybody who doesn't follow Freddie on Twitter or Facebook, he's awesome at it. So if you, I look at Freddie's Twitter feed every day, and I see beers that are coming out, and sometimes he's got me on some. I'm like, oh crap, I didn't know that was already out. So if anybody really wants to see what's out and what's new and what's hot, definitely follow him on Twitter and Facebook. But
I appreciate that, Greg.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Stout Days, Thursday, November 8th, which is tomorrow from today.
It depends when you're listening to this podcast.
Right. But we've got, this is the second year that we've done it, and it was started by a lady that's on Twitter named the Beer Goddess, and she kind of wanted to create an event and a day for the world to kind of celebrate this style of beer, the Stout. So I kind of picked up on it last year, and we threw together a little party, got some casks and some firkins from all the local guys, and kind of put together a cool little food menu based on Stout, and it was just a massive turnout. And we were at Tapworks, I was just shocked. I was sitting around that day worried, I've done all this work, I hope somebody shows up. But then by 6 or 7 o'clock, man, it was packed, and wall to wall, and people were killing those firkins. And then we had, I had saved back some stuff on draft and things like that. So this year we kind of taken it up a little notch. Up to 7 firkins this year. We've got 2 from Coop, 1 from Chalk, 1 from Anthem, 1 from Prairie Artisan Ales, the new guys, and then Tallgrass sent us 1 as well. So some pretty sexy stouts are going to be available, and then I'm bringing some stuff. I've been putting some stuff away for about 1.5 years now, almost 2 years. As it released, I kind of put it back. So I'm releasing some of my cellar stuff. So we'll have some pretty cool bottles out available as well, and then the food menu's coming together, so it's going to be a lot of fun for sure.
And I was looking at the food menu, or at least what probably is the preliminary food menu, and some of the stuff on there, the barbecue stuff with the stout sauce, and
right.
I mean, that's a winner right there. If that doesn't make you want to go into Tapworks on Thursday night, then I don't know what's going to get you in there.
Yeah, we're doing, last year I did a pork shoulder that I braised in Old Rasputin Stout. And then I made a stout barbecue sauce, and we did little sliders with that. This year I'm going to take that same braised pork because it was just awesome, and we're going to make like some tacos out of it and put like this chipotle slaw on top and some red onions. So, because that just killed last year, but I wanted to do something a little different this year, so people that were at both events are going to kind of try something new. So, and it's cool for us at Tapworks because we get to try out dishes and see what works and what doesn't work, what people like. Because for us, we should do a better job of incorporating beers into as many of our food products as we can. So,
do you think you're going to start to do that going forward a little bit? Maybe?
I do. We're actually, Tapworks is in the process of doing a little rebranding. So we've hired a local company to, and we're going to work on a new logo and kind of a facelift as far as our logo goes.
Does the name say, though?
Oh, the name stays.
Okay.
I think we're actually going to drop the cafe out. The official name is Tapworks Ale House and Cafe. I think we're going to drop the cafe and just keep Tapworks Ale House. Yeah, everything stays the same. Just our logo, it's a little tired,
I think it's been the same. That sign's been unchanged.
It's been forever,
since
and
the early days, as far as I can remember.
You're looking around now, and there's a little more competition, so you never want to get caught, behind. You always want to kind of stay ahead. So along with that, we're going to kind of try to spice up the food menu a little bit, do some more sexy things, if you will, with the food and the beer and stuff like that. So lots of good things to come, I think, in 2013 for us. So very
nice. And I'll tell you one good thing that we saw at Tapworks here just recently was the Mashtun OKC event, which is, what can you call it? A massive celebration of homebrewing talent.
We call it a homebrewer showcase. So we just the guys from Coop, Patrick and Blake, kind of put this thing together last year, and all they wanted was to kind of grow. The goal of the whole thing is to grow the beer culture and to let the homebrewers, because there's a lot of homebrewers out there that don't really have a forum to get much feedback outside of their friends and family and whoever they can,
or maybe the competition scene or whatever.
Right. So it's cool for them, and they have a great time interacting with just regular beer folks that normally just go to bars and stuff. And so we had 20 brewers this year and about 51 beers, and it was just a tasting event on the second and third floor of Tapworks, and had about 250 people come through the doors. So it was a lot of fun, and you get those homebrewers, man. They take it up, man. It's really cool. From last year, the bar was raised for sure, and we had some really good sours. We had some awesome pumpkin beers. We had some stouts that were really good. Got to try there's a new brewery coming out called Rough Tail. You did a story about it. Got to try some of their beers. So it's just a really good way to get those beers out there and to grow the beer culture, which we're all trying to do. That's why we're here today.
Now, Freddie, you're a home brewer. I know you're a member of Foam over there in the Tulsa area.
Yeah.
Are you seeing home brewers taking things to new levels right now with just the creativity of the craft beer?
Yeah. Some of the guys that have been brewing a long time, they still kind of stick to, the basics of stuff that they've always brewed. But you see the younger kind of influx of guys that are just coming up into home brewing or kind of getting interested, and they're one of the ones that are really wanting to try these really off-the-wall beers. And it's kind of funny because a lot of guys, are reverting back to the old world styles like the sours and the Flanders Reds and the Old Bruins and the things like that are just really hot right now in the U.S. and especially in the craft beer scene across the country. And there's guys that I know that have been brewing those styles for a long time, and I have quit brewing them for a while and then they started brewing them again, and people are just freaking out when they get a bottle of it, and it's because that style's so hot right now, and it's just so weird that it came back around like that how these old world styles are now like the real hot thing, and the Europeans are really looking at America for new style ideas, and it's really cool how the culture is done. But yeah, the home brewers, man, they're really keeping it edgy, and we started doing things like they have like nice events. High Gravity here in Tulsa does a lot of cool homebrew events. They have the Help Your Friend Brew Day and stuff like that, and that really brings a lot of people out and kind of gets them to know a lot about the home brewers and the craft beer culture and just beer in general, and that helps everybody, and that's all like we're all trying to do is grow the culture. And Oklahoma is such a hard place for culture because of our laws are so restrictive, and there's a huge gap between the end user and the brewer. It's not like Colorado where you can go into, say, Odell and see the brewery and eat food and hang out and talk to the guys, and maybe the barrel guy walks by and hey, what's up, Jay? How's it go? Oh, what's up? And you guys talk, and you have this connection with the product that they're selling. And here in Oklahoma, we have to do crazy jump through loops. We have to do all this stuff to bring culture to the state, and that's why it's just nothing but hard work and trying to do what we can. So I think everybody, especially the homebrew community, is a huge part of that. It's a huge part of my business. I know that the homebrewers are probably some of the best customers that you'll have because they love beer and they want to try different styles. And I think you can't really brew a crazy style of beer till you've had that style of beer, because a lot of the BJCP style guidelines, they don't encompass stuff that has all these adjuncts, something like a Cigar City Hunapu. I mean, where you're doing Madagascar vanilla beans and cinnamon and all this insane adjuncts.
Right.
There's just not, that's all special category, and there's just really nothing that really stands alone. And Imperial Stout is defined only so large by the BJCP, and there's brewers out there that are breaking these molds and creating these beers that are just blowing people's minds. And so these home brewers want to go, well, heck, that beer's so hard to get a hold of, I'm just going to brew my own. Well, that's how it's just a recirculation of culture, and I think that everyone's trying to do that and grow the culture, and it's really cool that we've had more fans or more memberships, I think, at Foam this year than they've ever had, and it's just all the American Homebrew Associations had more, and I think this year's Foam Cup, which is getting ready to take place, I think judging starts on Sunday. Next week is all judging, and they're already at around 800 entries.
Wow.
Which is like 200 or 300 more than last year already, and it's not even over. Saturday is the last day, and they'll be real close to 1,000 entries, and that's how big the culture has grown. I mean, just in 1 year. So
wow.
It's pretty wild.
That's amazing. And let me tell you what, we're pushing up to the end of our time here, and I wanted to get just some quick hits from you guys. I know it's only the start of November, but this is the time for Christmas beers to start hitting the shelves and probably start hitting the taps and stuff like that. Freddie, what are you getting in stores right now in terms of Christmas beers, those annual favorites that everyone likes to look for? I know Anchor Christmas just hit here in the past week or so.
Christmas, Anchor Christmas just dropped. It came out in Magnums, too, this year for the first time ever in Oklahoma. And then I was going to tell Greg to make sure that perfect timing for Stout Day tomorrow, that Sierra Nevada Narwhal is in stock right now, and it's going to drop tomorrow. So that's Sierra Nevada's new 4-pack Imperial Stout that they've never released before.
Wow.
That's tomorrow, if you guys didn't know about that. And then, let's see, we got that coming, and then Celebration from Sierra Nevada, Ebenezer from Bridgeport, the Great Divide, Hibernation. Those are some of the really hot ones that everybody wants. And then the Shiner Cheer comes out tomorrow, too. And it's amazing how fast that beer sells.
Sure.
Does,
another one I like is Winter Hook. I really like that one a lot. And I don't know if this is a big one with everyone, but for me, I really like the Full Sail Session Fest. They just come in 12 packs.
Awesome.
Yeah, they come in 12 packs in the little stubby bottles. Greg, I would imagine. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Freddie.
No, I got. They have the LTD 6 that came out this year too. That's a really awesome lager. It's around 7% alcohol, and it's got a lot of coffee and chocolate notes to it. And it's really cool, and I don't think they've ever brewed that beer. And it's kind of like they released that with the waffle, so it's almost like their second winter beer. It's pretty cool. It's actually a decent lager.
Yeah, and Greg, I would imagine most of the beers that Freddie's mentioning are going to be stuff that we're going to start to come see in Tapworks as well. Is there anything else that you're getting?
Yeah, I've got. I think I've got a meeting tonight with Eli from OBI, Oklahoma Beer Imports. So, and they have a lot of the best brands. So he's going to talk to me tonight. We're talking about St. Bernardus Christmas Ale, which is really good. We're going to get that in draft this year. We're going to talk about, I think, Jolly Pumpkin. It's Noel de Calabaza, I believe.
Noel de Calabaza.
Yeah. I think that one's coming in. And then, like he said, we're definitely getting Ebenezer kegs. All that stuff's going to start coming in, really soon. So it's exciting. And I know Scaldus actually does a Noel as well that's like a 13% alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And that one.
And then Fantome has their Hiver coming out.
Yeah.
Too, that's really cool for Oklahoma to get Fantome off the Shelton Brothers portfolio. That's giant.
It sure is. That one's big time. That one's, for the craft beer fans out there, if you don't know, those guys make some of the best saisons in the world. So, if not the best saisons in the world. So,
well, it is. It's an exciting time to think of all the Christmas beers coming out, and as we were saying today, an exciting time just to see kind of the growth of the craft beer industry here in Oklahoma. But that is going to be it for us today. I want to thank Greg and Freddie for joining me on the podcast. You can get all your news on the Oklahoma beer scene by checking out my blog, the Thirsty Beagle blog on News OK. Thanks for listening today, and we'll catch you next time.